I'm happy to have you here at this webinar. We will talk about Semantic SharePoint today. Put it already in the chat. Hopefully you've seen that. You have the opportunity to ask questions whenever you want. Just insert them please in this questions box. And also you can raise the hand if you like, if you have some questions in between. But we will give you also the option to stay with us until the end of the webinar, and hopefully we can discuss open questions also at the end of the webinar. I will open up the microphones and yeah, so let's start. My name is Andreas. I'm together with Agnes, today your host. I will guide you through the webinar. And yeah, hello Agnes, how are you today?
Hello, Andreas, and hello, everyone. Thank you. I'm great this afternoon, and hope you are too.
Okay, yeah, so let's roll. I will start with a short overview over the agenda. First, we will give you a short introduction what Semantic SP is all about. Then we will go into details. We will talk about the 3 different modules being provided by this bundle of Semantic SharePoint applications. At the end, we will also give some technical information, how to configure, what the architecture looks like in detail. And the very final round will be about business cases on top of Semantic SP and also about next steps. So what could be your next steps to get involved with our offerings? Okay, so first, of course, the question, what is Semantic SP all about? First of all, it's a bundle of web parts. It's the whole idea behind Semantic SP is to improve certain functionalities of SharePoint, most often SharePoint 2013, sometimes also SharePoint 2010, by features which help people, employees, knowledge workers to make a better way to handle information, to search over information, to add metadata on top of documents, and so on and so forth. From an organizational point of view, it's a joint venture between iQuest and Semantic Web Company. I will give you details about those 2 companies pretty soon. And it's also a network of partners, of people and companies which have high expertise in fields around Semantic SP, of course, around SharePoint, about semantic search, about enterprise search, and we could call them also search-driven applications. It's also an architecture to link and mesh content from SharePoint with content from other sources. What does it mean? With SharePoint metadata management, you have sorry, I was just getting the information that audio is not very good on your side. Agnes, can you confirm?
Actually, on my side, your audio is perfect. I don't have any issues with that.
Okay, so I will continue with that. Okay, it's an architecture to link and match content from SharePoint with content from other sources, which means in a very near future, I believe more and more projects will going on in which several repositories should be integrated in a meaningful way. At the moment, I would say that at least the metadata management of SharePoint is very much about the content of SharePoint itself. It's not being meant to be used as a master data management layer on top of several repositories. With Semantic SP, the users are prepared to make a clear distinction between content from different repositories and the metadata layer, which should be used across several repositories. And last but not least, it's simply spoken a facilitator for smart content management. It's based on semantic technologies. I mean, that's clear by the name. So we use automatic text analytics. We make use of automatic tagging and semantic search. And all those semantic technologies here being mentioned are on top of controlled vocabularies, on top of knowledge graphs, on top of taxonomies and ontologies. So, who is the Semantic Web Company first? Very brief overview. We are headquartered in Vienna, a team of experts in the field of semantic technologies. Pool Party Semantic Suite is on the market since 2009. It's more or less the back end of Semantic SP, in which you can manage taxonomies and knowledge graphs, and also the entity extractor, a text mining service, is based on Pool Party technologies. Pool Party is used by several industries. It's meant to be used by, I would say, knowledge-intensive industries, and there are several partners in the US and in the European Union which can offer consulting services around the products and semantic technologies. iQuest is headquartered in Germany. It has local teams in Switzerland, Romania, and in the US. It's one, I would say, of the largest integrators in Europe when it comes to the question how to make use of advanced Microsoft solutions. iQuest is a Microsoft Gold independent software vendor, and is also working for really big companies in the areas of life sciences, telecom, financial industry, and so on. And as explained before, Semantic SP has a partner network, and I'm happy to have Agnes from Search Explained today with us in this webinar. Agnes, can you talk a little bit about your company?
Of course, thank you, Andreas. So Search Explained is basically headquartered in Hungary because I live in Hungary. I have been working with SharePoint for ages, actually for more than 10 years now. And usually I say I've been spending more time with SharePoint than with my husband. I used to work with big companies, small companies in Hungary, in the US, across the world. And finally, I decided to found my own company. This is Search Explained. As I said, it's headquartered in Hungary, but actually we provide professional services, consultancy, trainings, workshops, and guidance across Europe, North America, and even in Asia. And we have been working with companies in different industries like in life sciences, finance, healthcare, pharma, public administration, and energy. So we have a very wide experience with enterprise search, mostly over SharePoint. And we also have a Yammer network for search professionals. That means we have about 200 members in this network at the moment. And the goal of this network is to discuss the challenges, the problems around enterprise search, what you can see there, etc., etc. So if you are interested in enterprise search in SharePoint or in any other search engines, just don't hesitate to join to this network.
Okay, thanks a lot. I just try to remove the bar up here. Sorry about that. Okay, so next slide. Why is Semantic SP important? Just to give you a very brief first overview. First of all, information retrieval systems have increasing demand for better precision recall of search results. With Semantic SP, we tackle exactly that problem. The built-in search of SharePoint has a lot to offer, but for certain use cases, not enough. We will show what exactly will be improved by Semantic SP in a couple of minutes. Secondly, in order to generate new knowledge, information has to be integrated from various sources. And as said before, with Semantic SP, you would be able to integrate content from different sources. So whenever you want to have, for instance, your SharePoint as a being used as a presentation layer, where several repositories should be presented, Semantic SP could be the right architecture for you. Third, smart content management is something. It's more a buzzword, but I think it explains, or in a certain way already, what knowledge workers or people who look for more than just a document repository, which is a container for certain documents, is looking for. It should be a system which somehow understands the meaning behind words, behind documents. It should be able to link documents to each other semi-automatically. It should support people, of course, with tagging. It shouldn't be a barrier. It should be something which can be easy to be used. And content, the value of content will always increase by linking content to other items, by contextualize it. Context or contextualizing is really the most important feature of a content management system in our days. SharePoint is a great platform to deliver content services, especially also for large enterprises, but it has some deficits in terms of handling the semantics behind all this information which is stored in SharePoint. And fourth, we need to facilitate access to complex content through more context around all those single pieces of information. We live in a very fragmented world. We know that there is too much information in, let's say, in theory, but actually it would be it's not about the number of documents or the number or the volume of information which really um, makes us a bit worried. It's actually the tools which do not support us with generating knowledge out of information. Everything has to be done manually nowadays. We pull together information from different platforms and repositories, somewhere on our desktops, somewhere in our Excel sheets, and so on. It's not organized by our companies we're working for. And the tools are still somehow, to my opinion, old-fashioned, to say it in a very with a very harsh word. So our word processors still do not understand what we are thinking of at the time writing a document. And we are living in the year 2014 now with a lot of CPU power. So at least partly we want to tackle those problems. Therefore, three tools are offered by Semantic SP. First, we want to show PowerTagging for SharePoint to tackle the semantic content management issue. Secondly, we want to provide you with a demo for semantic knowledge bases. How could a semantic knowledge base be created, maintained, and displayed and visualized in a SharePoint? And third tool we want to show is, compared to the two others, a pretty simple solution. It's about the taxonomy creator, which is about the substitution of the built-in term store management tool, which is, let's say, to a certain degree good enough to generate term sets or taxonomies. But if you think of rather big ones or pretty complex ones, I think it comes to a natural end to work with that built-in tool, and you need to use something else and import maybe the taxonomy into your SharePoint server. So those three options we will discuss. So now I will hand over to Agnes, and she will start also with a brief overview of the, let's say, built-in functionalities of SharePoint to come to a comparison between the out-of-the-box solutions and Semantic SP. Agnes.
Sure. Andreas, could you make me the presenter, please? Because I'm going to show some demos as well.
Yes, I will switch over.
Excellent. Thank you. So let me show my screen now. All right, so let's talk about the managed metadata term store, because this is the out-of-the-box way in SharePoint 2013 and even in SharePoint 2010 to create taxonomies in the SharePoint way. The version I'm going to talk about is SharePoint 2013. There are some differences to SharePoint 2010, but the concept itself of managed metadata term store and the operations we can do that and the way how it works is about the same. So even if you have SharePoint 2010, don't worry. Everything I'm saying now is true for both SharePoint 2010 and SharePoint 2013, despite I'm doing my demos on SharePoint 2013. So basically what we do have in SharePoint is called Manage Metadata Term Store. We don't use the word taxonomy in the SharePoint word. Actually, this is a hierarchical collection of centrally managed terms. This central management means you can manage the term store really in the central way in the managed metadata service. That means as soon as you create a terms set, as soon as you create some terms in the central administration, it will be available globally across your site collections in SharePoint. But also you can create site collection level term sets. That means if you have a separate site collection for one of your departments or your product or project or anything, you can create a term set that is available in this site collection only. So there are different levels of administration of this term store. And now let me show you my demo. Just I'm switching here. So this is what I'm showing right now is the central administration. But as I said, you can do about the same in the site collection level as well. The user interface is the same. The operations you can do are the same. So I have to have a managed metadata service application created. This is a small technical background, and under that, I get my term stores. And I have created something called demo, and under that, I have some term sets created. I have some marketing, something geography, and something vertical industries. If I'm opening geography, you can see I have created the continents here. Let me open Europe. Under Europe as a continent, I have the countries, and if I open Austria, I can see Vienna. So this is a hierarchy I can define and I can create in the term set. Some additional features we do have here. We have some kind of limited language support. That means if you have installed different language packs on SharePoint, like German, like French, Spanish, whatever language you use in your business, you can define different labels to the same term here. So for example, the English name of Vienna is Vienna, but its German name is Wien. Its Hungarian name is Bécs anyway, so it has several different names. And if you have the language pack installed on the top of your SharePoint form, you can define those different labels. Also, we can use synonyms here. So for example, if I am entering its German name Wien as a synonym, I can use it this way as well. But of course, this is not the way how to use it. But technically I could do that. But and it seems to be fine. So let me save this with those settings. If I'm switching to my SharePoint site collection, the content, where I can show you how the end users, what is the end user experience of this, I have uploaded a document here, and if I'm editing its properties, you can see if I'm starting to enter Vienna, I can choose this value from this list. But also I can select it from this browser if I want. So basically this is the end user experience, and if I'm clicking on save, I can see Vienna as the value for geography here. So more or less this is what we do have in SharePoint for manage metadata. We can also, yes, let me show you one more thing. So on the terms, for example, I have Vienna selected on the term store. We still can create custom properties, but we do have to develop our custom solution, our custom code, custom application to use those custom properties. And it's very simple. So it's just some property name, like property 1, and I can give it a name like capital of Austria. That's it. So I have this very simple, very easy user interface to create custom properties on each term. But the usage of those custom properties is not really easy. We really have to develop a custom solution for that. And we also have some additional problems or features or options missing with the out-of-the-box term store. So first of all, we cannot define types of terms. I cannot say, all right, this term is type A and that term is type B. So we cannot differentiate between terms. We cannot really define metadata, and we cannot really use metadata about terms. So even if I enter those custom properties into the terms, there is no out-of-the-box ways to use them. And one of the biggest problems in real-world solutions is that we cannot create relationship between those terms. So, for example, I cannot say Vienna is related to Budapest as well as a capital of Hungary, and the relationship between them is this and that. I cannot do that. There are no relationships, no way to define that out of the box. A big problem can be that we don't have version management on the term sets. We cannot follow what happened and what changes have been done on a term. So if someone changes a term like Vienna, it's changed, and that's all. We cannot track it. We cannot check who did that, when did it happen, how did it happen. No way to do that. It's updated, and that's all. The next issue or limitation is we cannot really synchronize the term sets from SharePoint form to SharePoint form, or from site collection to site collection, or we get more and more hybrid infrastructures where we have a form on premises, a SharePoint 2013 form on premises, and at the same time we have an environment in the cloud in Office 365. In this case, there is no out of the, even if it's the same business, even if it logically is the same intranet, there is no way to synchronize the managed metadata terms or our term sets between Office 365 and SharePoint on-premises. And this might be a big limitation. You have to have some custom solution to do that, or your custom scripts or custom application. But anyway, you have to code this. You have to develop your own solution to do this synchronization. And last but not least, we do not have auto tagging. I have demonstrated how I can tag a document manually, how I can enter or select a value from the term set, but we don't have auto tagging. So if I upload a document, it's done, and there is no way to fill in those values automatically. And sometimes it's a big limitation, even if we just upload our documents in a daily basis, but sometimes it really hurts when you upload hundreds or thousands of documents, or even more. Sometimes you have some scheduled jobs that uploads documents to SharePoint during the night, for example, and they should be tagged, they should be classified, but you cannot do that out of the box. So those are the limitations actually we have in SharePoint out of the box. All right, but good news is there is hope. We do have some great tools on the market. One of them is PowerTagging, and there are some great use cases when they can be used very, very well. For example, improving search experience. When we do have the out-of-the-box solution, we have some limitations with search as well. So, for example, when we crawl the content, it will crawl only the current value of the metadata, the property you entered. In case of my document that I just tagged a couple of seconds ago, only the value Vienna will be included in the search index. That means if I'm searching for Vienna, obviously I will get this document because it's tagged with Vienna. But this does not support the hierarchy, the metadata, the managed metadata hierarchy. Meaning if I am searching for Austria, for example, I don't get this document at all, even if Vienna is under Austria in the term store. So it's a big, big, big limitation, and we have to improve this. Auto tagging and time saving. This is, I think, very obvious. If I upload my documents, I can save a lot of time if it gets tagged automatically, even if I just upload the documents on my daily job. But if you have hundreds or thousands of documents to upload to SharePoint, for example, because you migrate your content to SharePoint from your file shares, on file shares we do not have any properties, any tags, any metadata. But obviously you want to use its benefits when you upload them to SharePoint. So auto tagging is a good option to do that, and you really need it when you do that. And consistent tagging. The use of controlled enterprise vocabularies is very, very important. So every user might use different words for the same thing. They might use different typos. So for example, I can enter Vienna in the correct way, but at the same time I can do some typos, and in this case it will be a different value. From findability and usability perspective, it's a nightmare. So we really have to have something that makes our tags consistent, and that makes it more usable and my content more findable. And it's very, very important. So let's see how it works. On this picture, you can see two different layers with three different colors. The dark blue color means out-of-the-box SharePoint component. I do have search index on the right side. I have SharePoint lists and SharePoint content on the left side. And I do have the item information processing from the content to the search index in the middle. With color yellow, you can see the pool party components that are integrated into SharePoint as soon as you install pool party. First of all, we have this content enrichment web service in the middle. That means when you crawl and index your content, it will be enriched. So you will have an improved search experience you can see in a couple of minutes. At the same time, we have some components for tagging, both manual and automatic tagging, supported by pool party. And how it works is actually uses the pool party SharePoint connector that is connected to the pool party server that you can see on the bottom of this picture with light blue components. So basically, how it works, we do have a pool party server behind the scenes. When you create your taxonomies, when you maintain your taxonomies, etc., you are going to see that in a couple of minutes. There is a pool party SharePoint connector in the middle that communicates between SharePoint and the pool party server. There are some components that support the pool party features in SharePoint, and that enriches and improves the SharePoint experience in general, both on the tagging side and on the metadata management side, as well as on search. This is how it works in a nutshell. You are going to see this in our live demo very soon, but basically the tagging option consists of two different parts. On the bottom of this screenshot, you can see the automatically generated and created tags for this document. And on the top, you can select your own tags. You can assign the tags as you want to this document manually. And the next one is the search experience that Andreas is also going to demonstrate to you. This is called Semantic Search. And what you can see here is very similar to the SharePoint out-of-the-box search experience, basically because this is built on the top of the SharePoint search experience, but it has some very great features. So for example, as soon as you type in your queries, you get suggestions based on your taxonomy. Out of the box in SharePoint, query suggestions are maintained manually by crazy PowerShell scripting. So keeping synchronized your taxonomies with your query suggestions is more than a nightmare out of the box in SharePoint, but with pool party, it's out of the box there, and it's very nice and very powerful. You are going to see this. Of course, we are having some facets, some refiners, and in the middle, you can see the result set, of course. So basically, it's time to demonstrate those features. Andreas, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a good time now to show how exactly it works after all those slides we started with. So I will switch over to my screen. So I will start to show a demo based on a medical taxonomy called MESH, the medical subject headings. Some of you might know it. It's one of the most often used taxonomies in the medical and healthcare sector. It's actually, I will show the front end and the back end. So what you can see here is more or less the backend, the pool party Desaro server, and that's the front end component. So both, of course, as Agnes already mentioned, are tightly coupled to each other. And yeah, let's roll. So that's our SharePoint demo server. We have collected some documents here. We have set up some wiki pages. So let's take a look on what we have already in place. There are a couple of documents in the healthcare sector, or if you go to the the document section, you can see there are Word or text files or PDFs being uploaded. And what you can see already here in this section are the tags. Those tags are already extracted automatically from the PowerTagging web part. Let's do some example. So I will create a new wiki page, and I was looking around for some medical information and found, for instance, this document here, and I'm going to set up a corresponding wiki page in my SharePoint server. So I create that, and I add some text. I put it already in my cache here, and I will save it. And going back to the wiki page section, here it is, and you can see already the tags are asserted, but now I can, if I want, refine them, curate them. And that's the tagging dialog which we already have displayed in before in theory. And you can see here, those are the automatically set tags. And up here, you see some additional tags which are not as good scored as those ones, but potentially interesting to be used. Let's say I go for retention and heart. I can add those, and you see those will go into another section called the manually selected tags. I can also deselect them from here, then they will go up here once again. You see that was pretty high scored. I could, if I want, again select it, or I could do the same here and do that as a manual selected tag. So those are the ways to tag a document. There is an automatic tagging and there is a manual tagging. And I think that covers pretty all the workflows which are usually demanded. Some of our clients want to have everything tagged automatically, at least let's say the archive or all the documents which are already in place. You probably don't want to retag them anymore. And others probably want to have a very high quality with manual curation. Although I have to say there are several tests being made which clearly showed that manual tagging is not necessarily of higher quality than automatic tagging as soon as it's based on a controlled vocabulary. I always have to stress that out. All these completely statistical approaches, they don't produce the same high quality as approaches which are based on controlled vocabularies, like, for instance, in that case, the mesh thesaurus. I can also add some manual stuff by autocomplete. So if I start typing here, I could add hard septum and artificial heart, just for an example. I can save that, and it will be inserted here what all the changes I've just made. A couple of minutes later, all the tags will be fetched by the indexer, so you can schedule whenever the intervals when the indexer should look up and see if there's something new. And whenever you've made changes on the taggings, it will be reflected in the search index, but also on the taxonomy side. So let's take a look on the backend component. I will log into the pool party thesaurus server. So that's the environment. Usually only the taxonomist will live. There's no content management or annotation being done here. Only the metadata layer is maintained and managed here. And I will load now one of the projects we have on the server. So that's the corresponding mesh thesaurus I just showed you, which was used for annotation. So that's exactly the one I use in the SharePoint server. And I can do, let's say, changes here and add a new label, for instance. So I could go for, let's say, recurrence and add a new label. If I've tagged my one of my content items with recurrence, and I would add here a new label, an alternative label, it will be indexed the next time when the indexer is coming by and reflecting all the changes being done, which means I don't have to change it at any point where I've used the tag recurrence. I don't have to add here all the synonyms as additional tags. I just do it once here at this place, and the indexer will reflect that. Okay, so that's more or less the back end, and the only thing you have to do is to connect your SharePoint server with this service, and the rest is done on the SharePoint side. So let's take a look on the search now, maybe, because of course we want to have a improved search experience. That's why we put so much effort into metadata management, or at least that's one reason. It's not only about search, also about linking documents. Anyway, I search for, let's say, heart. The autocomplete is also coming out of the taxonomy I've created with Pool Party. So I fetch here one of the suggestions, and I will receive, in addition to the refiners I receive out of the box, that's typically an author or modification date, refiners which I can define and which are derived from my taxonomy. So let's take a look on the structure, going back to the actual taxonomy. Here you have all the potential refiners you can use to classify documents in Pool Party. And later, of course, in your SharePoint instance. So if you take a look on the SharePoint side, I've picked an anatomy, chemicals and drugs, and diseases. And I could add additional ones if I like. But first of all, probably let's click on amyloid. So you can see, of course, they will help you to filter down the search results, and sooner or later you come to a document you're interested in. Okay, I'd like to show you also how you can configure that. So if I go to page and edit the page, you can go here and edit the web part. And you can see here, first of all, you can say how the autocomplete should react on when user type in some search queries. You can say when it should be started already with character number 1, how many results should be displayed. And then very important, I think, is the query expansion functionality. So you can type in either a synonym or a preferred label or even a hidden label if you want. And all of them will be used for search. So the search index will react on all of those all of those labels a concept can have. And here you see the facets which were selected. You could add additional ones, and here is the list of mesh related. So I could add geographicals, for instance, and save that, apply that. and stop editing. And again, if I click on or search for, let's say, relapse, which is a synonym of recurrence. Let me see if I can produce facets here. For geographicals, I don't have any, okay. But yeah, so it's just 0. That's the reason it's not, they're not showed. Maybe I can produce something with liver. Again, nothing. Okay, I don't know. Anyway, so this is the semantic search functionality of power tagging enhanced SharePoint servers in, let's say, in a nutshell. Okay, so let me go back to the slides once again. Let's do a brief comparison between standard tagging versus power tagging. Agnes, may I ask you for doing that?
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you for the demo, Andreas. I think it was very powerful. So just summarize what we have been talking about in the last couple of minutes by demonstrating the out-of-the-box capabilities of SharePoint and the capabilities of power tagging and pool party. So basically in SharePoint we have some kind of multilingual support, but it's not really enterprise level, or it's not always enough. In power tagging we have much more improved multilingual capabilities. As Andreas showed us, with power tagging, we do have auto tagging that is very, very powerful, that we don't have with SharePoint out of the box. In SharePoint, we don't have query expansion, while with power tagging, we do have by synonyms, by hierarchies, as you could see. In SharePoint, we have kind of flat refiners, while with power tagging, we have refiners alongside the taxonomy hierarchy that might be also really important. As I said, in SharePoint, the query suggestions and term sets are are handled totally separated. So there is no way to keep them synchronized, especially not out of the box without some crazy heavy custom solution. While in power tagging and with pool party, it's there out of the box. So if you modify anything in your taxonomy, it's going to be in your search suggestions immediately. We also have versioning in pool party, while we do not have terms versioning in SharePoint out of the box. We don't have workflow management in SharePoint either, while we have full-blown workflow management in power tagging, and it's really, really powerful. In SharePoint, we cannot create relationships between the terms. In pool party we can. It's a very cool feature there, and you can create references, links between terms, and they work very nice. In SharePoint we don't have poly hierarchies. We have the classical tree-like hierarchy of terms, but nothing more. While in power tagging and pool party, poly hierarchies are fully supported. In SharePoint, we do not have text corpus analysis, while in power tagging, we have it integrated. That means with this feature, you can analyze your content and you can get taxonomy suggestions that can be very powerful. For example, if you have millions of documents in a file share and you want to migrate them into your SharePoint form, you can get suggestions immediately, so you have some basis to build up your taxonomies, and it's very, very powerful. In SharePoint, annotation is really restricted, while in PowerTagging, we do have annotation of various content sources. In SharePoint, out of the box, the maximum of levels in a term set, the maximum levels of terms is 7, while in property there is no limit, and the number of terms is also limited in SharePoint, while we don't have any limits in property. So you can have as big taxonomy as your business needs it.
All right, thank you, Agnes, for the summary. I think I would like to show you the geographical stuff, so for instance, if I type in Americas, going back to the semantic search, you get some results here, for instance, like Mexico or South America. If you click on Mexico, you get this document here, which is something about Mexico and Central and South America and so on and so forth. So just to make that, summarize that up. Okay, so what I'm doing next is I will talk about the second component, which is the semantic knowledge base. Give you a brief overview what it's all about. It's about browsing knowledge graphs within SharePoint. Why is that important? Let's take a look on a knowledge graph like Mesh. It's a really complex one. It has 26,000 concepts. It has 200,000 different names for those 26,000 things. So there are a lot of relations also between those things. 7,600 non-hierarchical relations, 36,000 hierarchical relations, which indicates there are a lot of polyhierarchies. So there are many ways to traverse such a knowledge graph. And things like, I don't know, parts of anatomy have pictures maybe, or some aspects, some attributes you would like to search for. Or if you talk about geographicals, we probably would like to show them on a map and things like that. So whenever it comes to a complex knowledge domain, we should find ways to provide this kind of information to people who want to learn about those things, who want to understand relations between things. And I believe here we have a powerful way if we maintain and create knowledge graphs and display them in environments which are usually used by employees, which is most often SharePoint. They probably don't want to change to any other platform. They want to the knowledge should live inside the container we are used to, and that's exactly what this tool can do for you. Let's go to the semantic knowledge base. In that case, it's the medical knowledge base. As I've said, it's based on the medical subject headings, and we can start search for something. Let's say a geographical. Okay, for instance, Queensland in Australia. It's also called the Sunshine State. And as you can see, it's already here as a auto suggestion. It could also be a medical term. I think it's a synonym of sunlight, maybe. And if you go to Queensland, you will get several aspects about Queensland. You will see, first of all, where it's located in the hierarchy. It's below Australia, which is part of the geographicals concept scheme of our knowledge base. And it has different, it has a preferred label, it has an alternative label, or actually two different ones. Of course, those properties you can rename. They are just the technical terms. You could call them, I don't know, synonyms or whatever, or definition you could call history or whatever. So here you see other attributes of Queensland. You see, for instance, longitude, latitude, or the capital is Brisbane, and so on. Here on the right side, you see there is a map visualization as an option, so you can configure also which of the properties of a certain node in your in your knowledge graph should be used for displaying it on a map. You can hide the map if you want. So that's the knowledge base in a nutshell. What you do actually is you create and maintain it in your backend. So again, I could go to, let's say, Queensland. And then you get the form to edit this certain concept. So here you see that's the basic information you can maintain here. And then you can go to a second tab or a third tab. You can define that here. For instance, you define the thumbnail, which is the flag. And that's exactly what's being shown here in our knowledge base. So it's a nice way to maintain knowledge graphs. And here you have, as Agnes mentioned, versioning and workflows and text corpus analysis. You can extract terms from your SharePoint content and stuff like that. And then you display it and filter or put it into your SharePoint environment and provide it to employees. So what are the potential use cases for that? No, sorry. First, I just want to summarize up what are the features. So you have a search, including autocomplete. You have a tree view. You also have a list view. I might show to you. So if I type in something like maybe heart, I get a lot of things which has something to do with heart, and then I can pick out here and see always the path, and I can filter that down and say it should not be I don't know, a disease or something like that. So that's one of the features. Then the second one is or the third one is the tree view. Then you can configure the details view very easily. The web part can be configured by the properties which should be shown, if a map should be used, or if you have an alert function to display, hello, this is not approved yet, or something like that. So so there are several ways to help people to orientate in this knowledge base. So what are the use cases? I think three of them should be mentioned above all. First of all, it's about visualizing knowledge, to show the relations between things, to provide information about complex knowledge domains. A second one is, which is very obvious, is a lot of companies and people that are working for them, they somehow have problems with all the abbreviations, acronyms, with all the words and labels things could have. It's a Babylonian language confusion all over the places. So most of our clients use this web part for enterprise vocabulary management in terms of presenting. It's a presentation layer of enterprise vocabularies. Employees can easily look up meanings of words, and they see the context around it, they see the links, the relations. You can configure it really very nicely. So for instance, if I again type something in like, I don't know, heart again, I could think of a functionality. So here you get a picture of it, that you even get something like a visualization on a map of a person where this part of the anatomy lives. So that could be also maybe a potential extension of this web part. And of course, depending on the domain we are talking about, here could always be a kind of a visualization which has something to do with the knowledge domain. If it's geographical, you put it on a map. If it's an anatomy, you could put it on a map of a body. Or and again, you can do that with other knowledge domains, I believe. And then, after all, I think e-learning is a typical use case for this kind of application. Also, when you think of people who are new to a company, they want to learn about all the business objects which are relevant for their work. Which context do they have? What products do we offer? Who are our competitors? Where are they located? What do they offer? Are there any interesting links to our clients, to our offerings, and things like that? So I think we really suffer from fragmentation of information, and the knowledge base can help people to show relation between things. Yeah, and last but not least, we come to an end with a very simple but maybe also powerful way to deploy taxonomies inside SharePoint. And I will once again hand over to Agnes. And please, could you guide us through the last section of this webinar?
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm happy to do so. So basically, Taxonomy Creator is a third option or a third module, and it's a part of the PowerTagging solution that supports the export of vocabularies and knowledge graphs in SharePoint formats. That means I have demonstrated the out-of-the-box capabilities of Manage Metadata Term Store at the beginning of this webinar. Sometimes you still want to keep using that with the support of some enriched, enhanced enterprise tool to maintain your taxonomy itself. In this case, you can use PowerTagging to create, to maintain, to manage your taxonomy. And once you are done with that, you can export it and you can import it on SharePoint to the term store. You can import it to different forms, on premises, in the cloud, etc., etc. So you will have real enterprise taxonomy that has been created by PowerTagging with this enterprise tool, and it can be very very powerful in some use cases. Andreas, could we switch to the next slide, please, or could you give me? Yeah, thank you. This is the SharePoint side of the story. You can import this. It has to be a specific CSV format, but as I said, PowerTagging supports this format, so you can export your taxonomy in this specific CSV format, and then you can import it into your term store in SharePoint. Some use cases for this. As I said, you can have enterprise taxonomies this way. You have a real enterprise tool with PowerTagging to manage, to maintain your complex and even large taxonomies, and still you have you can use the SharePoint out-of-the-box capabilities. In this way, you can create and use multilingual taxonomies in the term store as well. It's also possible, so you can create a separate taxonomy for your English environment and a separate taxonomy for German language, and you can use it in your SharePoint environment. In this way, we also have text corpus analysis. You can derive taxonomies from your documents. That can be very useful. And as I said, we do not have this capability out of the box in SharePoint. So this can be a real addition to this use case as well. And last but not least, some technical information. This architecture diagram shows the high-level architecture of Semantic SharePoint. On the bottom of this picture, you can see SharePoint as a content source where we store our documents, wiki pages, lists, tasks, calendar items, anything as the basic layer, as the content management layer of this architecture. In the middle, we have PowerTagging with its APIs and features and functions. And on the top, we use SharePoint as a presentation layer again. And we can use PowerTagging, we can use a semantic knowledge base, we can use Taxonomy Creator here, And as you can see, the pool part is totally integrated into SharePoint between its content management layer and presentation layer. And last, let's talk about the configuration a bit. Power tagging can be configured on site collection level. You can activate or deactivate this feature on site collection level, but you can modify and customize this configuration on site level. You might have different settings on site A than on site B in the same site collection. The tagging itself can be configured on the lists and document libraries. If you want to have some customized settings there. The search enrichment configuration is done on site collection level, and as I said, it all can be customized. It's all configurable, and it gives a lot of enrichment compared to the out-of-the-box SharePoint capabilities. And finally, the knowledge base configuration. Technically speaking, the user interface of this knowledge base component is a web port. So you have to do this configuration on the web port settings. Here, you first of all, of course, you have to configure the pool party server and knowledge graph settings with username and password. You can select the language to be used. You can select the properties to display, for example, location, which property should be used for displaying the location on the map, as we could see on the right side of the knowledge base. You can also configure the order of properties. You can configure which image to display for the items and the maps. And once again, the knowledge base works on SharePoint 2010 and SharePoint 2013. So finally, as a kind of summary of today's webinar, what kind of business cases can Semantic SharePoint be used for? First of all, you can get its benefits when you want to use business dashboards. You might need some integrated views on your business objects, on different scenarios, different use cases. As we have more and more information, and actually we have a really information overload today. We need some tools that can filter out the information that is relevant for us, and we have to have this information presented in the best possible way in order to understand the information and in order to process the information. And dashboards are a very, very good way to do that. So Semantic SharePoint can be definitely useful when you need those dashboards. Search is an obvious one. We have to improve findability in order to be able to find the proper information and in order to find this information as quick as possible, because time is very important in every business. And we have to be smart. We have to have smart search solutions, and semantic search is definitely a good way to do that. In case of knowledge bases, as I said, visualization of information is really important. We have to reuse the information and we have to visualize the information in the best way, the best possible way. And our knowledge domains are really complex. Displaying those domains, visualization of those domains are really important. And last but not least, enterprise vocabulary management. We have a Babylonian language confusion in most of the companies. The bigger your company, this confusion can be the worst. But with enterprise vocabulary management, you can overcome on this, and Semantic SharePoint can be a very good way to do that, as we demonstrated with Andreas.
Yeah, so thank you, Agnes. Maybe we come now to the very last slide and to an end. Just, of course, now you're asking, how can I get involved with that, or could I try it out maybe on my own? Of course, we would be happy to support you with that. So if you need a demo server for your own tests, just let us know. We could also probably help you to specify and refine maybe some use cases which are similar to the ones Agnes just mentioned. So that's probably a good basis to work on, but usually, of course, you need to readjust it always in a certain way. We can provide you with a private webinar if you want. If you need more information about the technical background, the architecture, we are more than happy to tell you more about that. And last but not least, maybe some of you are working for consultants or integrators. If you're interested to work with us, just let us know and we can talk about potential partnerships. Agnes, anything left on your side? Otherwise, I think we come to an end, and we will leave open the microphones in a minute or so. So the webinar will be finished very soon now officially. If you stay with us, I will open the microphones and maybe we can start a discussion then. Otherwise,
Absolutely.
I want to say thank you, Agnes. Sorry, I interrupted you. Can you want to say anything at the very
No,
end?
actually, I just wanted to say thank you, and I'm happy to answer any question, and I'm happy to keep the discussion open.
Yeah, same on my side. Thanks for your time and your interest. Bye bye.
Thank
Talk
you,
to you soon.
Andres.
Thank you, Agnes. Bye bye.